have something for me to read?
I'm not sure I'll be able to. Let me write it.
Here. Paper, pen.
Thank you so much.
Mostly I care about my pen. Okay, thanks. Good morning and welcome to our service today. As a reminder, the service will be live streamed on the internet. My name is Rosalie May. Service will begin now with the ringing of the concho, followed directly by the chanting of the Junie Rye found on page 67 in the Purple Book. That's page 67 of the Purple Service Book. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. I am told we have a special visitor here from Hawaii. Debbie Kubota, if you are here, could you please stand? No? I've been misinformed. Um, Debbie is the author of the song Living Gratefully, which we will now sing from our brand new Gatha book on page 85. And because it is a new song, we will sing through it twice. So that's Living Gratefully on page 85 of the new Gatha book. Twice. Oh, please stand. Thank you. Thank you. You may be seated. Oh, no. Please remain standing. Sorry. And turn to page 10 in your service book for the reading of the Threefold Refuge, led by Minister's Assistant Jason Yokoyama. That's what the script says.
I guess I didn't read the script very well this morning. Okay. The Threefold Refuge. Difficult is it to receive a human form, now we are living it. Difficult is to hear the Dharma of the Buddha, now we hear it. If we do not cross over to the truth in the present life, in what life shall we cross over? let us with sincerity and true reverence take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we, together with all sentient beings, awaken to the great way of enlightenment and to the unsurpassed intent of Amida Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we, together with all sentient beings, enter the storehouse of the Dharma, becoming like the wisdom ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we, together with all sentient beings, become units into accord in harmony with all things. The peerless, profound, and wondrous Dharma is rare to encounter, even in many hundreds and thousands of kalpas. Now we are privileged to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Tathagata's teachings. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandabs. Namandabs. Please be seated.
Jason Yokoyama will now deliver his Dharma message.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'd also like to say good morning to all of us that are joining online streaming. Thank you for joining our service. Please remember, if you like what you see, give this video a thumbs up. And remember to subscribe to our channel by hitting that little button down below. Also remember to hit the little bell notification so you know whenever we post new content. But I mean, we go live every Sunday morning at 10. But just hit it anyways. Also follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram. You can follow me too, that'd be cool, at Jason_Yoko. Okay, now that all that like fun stuff is out of the way, let's talk about the Dharma. So today's Dharma message, I thought I'd kind of follow the basic outline of any sort of YAC graduate from years 1 to 3, which is talk about a topic or story in your life, relate that somehow to interdependence or interconnectedness or impermanence, the eyes of Buddhism, and then end with a quote from Ogui Sensei. And so that's kind of what we're going to do today. However, I've tended to realize that when I give Dharma messages, I also kind of do sort of an educational aspect, and normally it's about like Japanese language. So I'm going to throw some Japanese lessons in there today too. So today's topics, and I really hope, I printed out some things to show, and I hope they're big enough. I didn't have like the nice thing that Sensei had, and Mark is also not here today to hold it up for me. But today we are going to talk about two phrases that we probably all know and commonly say, itadakimasu and gochiso-sama. Okay, so we'll start with itadakimasu first. So in Japan, it's very common to hear the phrase itadakimasu before you eat. This is something that most of us learn as children. You know, before you begin eating your meal, you sit down, put your hands together in gassho, and say itadakimasu. This is something that you can see, like if you watch a lot of Japanese TV, if you even watch like anime or read in manga, you'll see people say itadakimasu before they eat. As a kid, I just thought that this was some like Japanese thing you do, like before I can eat my food, I just like put my hands together, and as my dad says, I used to just yell mas, either because I didn't know what to say or I was just really hungry. But as I grew older, I realized kind of the true meaning behind itadakimasu and kind of why we say it. And so, of course, we've probably all heard Dharma talks on this before. I have given Dharma talks on itadakimasu before. So it's no surprise that its origin, is from Buddhist origin. However, when I was researching this, what was surprising to me is, according to some websites I saw, the kind of widespread usage of itadakimasu can be attributed to Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, which I had no idea. I just thought that, oh, this is something that we say, but Buddhist origin and Jodo Shinshu Buddhists were the ones that helped encouraging people to kind of introduce this practice of kind of Thanksgiving before meals. So in terms of what it means, if you watch those Japanese TV shows or anime, usually if you look at the English dubbed version, it's translated to something like, let's eat. But that's not what itadakimasu means. So by a show of hands, how many people actually know like what the word means? Okay, there's some, like 7-ish. Okay, but we're just going to go into it anyways. So, itadakimasu. So the word itadakimasu, and here's our little Japanese lesson, comes from the Japanese word itadaku, which means to receive, but more like traditionally it means to raise up over your head. So some of you may be familiar with the word itadaku because that's what we do with our service books before we open them. So you'll notice all the ministers, before we begin chanting, we hold up the service book and we itadaku it by raising it above our heads. It is the formal version of the word, oh no, my papers. Morale, which means to receive. So what we're doing is we're receiving. And with that sort of ancient context of receiving from or raising above our head, we're acknowledging that we're receiving something from above us, something greater than ourselves, something that we need to show our gratitude for. This is the reason why we raise our service books before we open them. This is the Dharma, the words of the Buddha. We're recognizing and showing our gratitude to our teacher, the Buddha, for teaching us and saying these things to us. That is why we raise the book up. And that's basically where sort of itadakimasu comes from. We are saying thank you. We're being grateful for the food that's placed in front of us, recognizing all of the things that have happened to make this meal possible. I'm sure that, okay, so, sorry. It's getting hard with all these papers up here. I'm trying to juggle everything. So, itadakimasu literally means, I humbly receive. The more polite version of the word morale. And I always remember Reverend Castro teaching me this because for some reason, whenever I think of itadakimasu, I just hear it in his voice saying, itadakimasu, I humbly receive. And so that's what you should remember. Right? Most people know why we say it, and it's to recognize all of those causes and conditions that went into the meal. So if that's what itadakimasu means, let's talk about gochiso-sama. So when thinking about this, I don't think I've ever heard a Dharma talk about gochiso-sama before. It's always itadakimasu. So just another poll, how many people actually know what this word means and why we say it? 3, 4. Well, you were when I learned it, but it's like the ministers. And I think it's very interesting that we never really talk about gochiso-sama that much. It's another thing that we learn to say as children, but when I thought about it, for over 20 years, I would say this every day, and I had no idea what it meant. So it finally dawned upon me when we went over to the Koyasan temple across the park for the YMA retreat in January, and we had a lesson from Taijo sensei there, and he told us the meaning of gochiso-sama. So Japanese lesson again, we're going to break this word down to kind of get the literal meaning, and then we'll see how that applies to the more greater Buddhistic meaning. So gochiso-sama can be broken down into mainly 2 parts, the honorific parts, which is here, go, and sama, and then the chiso, the true meaning, or the kanji parts. So go and sama are just honorific prefix and suffix that are added to Japanese words to show reverence, to show appreciation. The best example of this that I could think of is the monshu. So the monshu is the head priest of our mother temple in Japan, but we don't really call him the monshu, we call him gomonshu-sama. We add those honorifics in because he is the living descendant of Shinran Shonin, the head and founder of our sect of Buddhism. So you just have go. Sama is the more polite version of the word san, which I'm sure many people are familiar with, like Ayano-san. Yeah. She's not here, so I looked around the room and she wasn't here. So that moves on to the parts of chiso. What does chiso mean? So chiso means to dash around on a horse. Yeah, I know, right? It means to dash around on the horse. And if you actually break those 2 kanji up, they can be read differently. The chi can be read in haseru, which means to run, and the so can be read as hashiru, which also means to run. So what we have now is a very polite way of saying run and run, or dash around on a horse. So what does this mean? So this is attributed to ancient times in Japan when if you wanted to provide a meal to someone, if you wanted to go out and be like, I'm going to invite people over for dinner, you would have to get on your horse, if you were fortunate enough to have one, or literally run everywhere to get your meal. If you wanted fish, you would have to go to the river. You would have to go to the port. If you wanted rice, if you wanted vegetables, you would have to run to the field. So this is a more direct way of saying, thank you for my food. Thank you for sacrificing, for running around everywhere to prepare this meal for me. And that is the reason why we say gochiso-sama after we eat. Instead of itadakimasu, which is kind of more globally, let's be aware of what we're consuming, the animals that gave their lives, the people's efforts. Gochiso-sama is more of a direct thank you to the person that literally hands you the meal. Thank you for running around. Thank you for going through this effort so that I can eat today. And so, you know, these are words that we say all the time, and you kind of don't think this, but like I've been trying ever since I learned about this year to think more into saying these words before I eat and finish meals, to be reflective on how things come to be, these causes and conditions that make our lives meaningful, and once again, make our lives grateful when we understand the efforts that people put in. So, in closing, like I said, I'm going to close with a quote from Ogui Sensei, which I think is probably his most famous quote, and I'm sure half of this room knows it. But please join me in Gasho. My life is not only my life, but the lives of others' sacrifices, kindness, thoughtfulness, and patience. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jason. Please join me in Gasho for words from the Dhammapada. The secret of health for both mind and body is not to mourn for the past, not to worry about the future, and not to anticipate troubles, but to live wisely and earnestly for the present. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Please stand and turn to page 34 in your Gatha book and join together in singing Amida's Guiding Lights. (34) Please be seated. This concludes the live stream of today's service. For those of you who joined us online, we hope you'll join us again next week, and have a great day. Following this service, we have several optional programs for you to attend. A Japanese program will take place here in the Hondo with a video message. Dharma Exchange will take place in the dining room downstairs, facilitated by Reverend Matt May. Dharma School Parents Dharma Exchange meets in Memorial Hall Chapel with Reverend Rosalie May. If you and your child are interested in our Dharma School program, this is an opportunity to meet other parents and to ask questions. If you are interested in a tour of our temple, please meet Reverend Irene Goto in the foyer. She will show you our facility and answer questions you may have. All of these after-service programs conclude at 11:30. Please join us for refreshments in the dining room downstairs at 11:30. For those interested in meditation, our Sitting in Gratitude meditation meets before service from 9 to 9:40 a.m. in Memorial Hall Chapel. Please join us for meditation next Sunday. Are there any other announcements? Okay, I have one here. Oh, did you want? Reverend Katsu's Buddhism study classes, Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Sorry, there are some verbs missing. Reverend Katsu holds a Buddhism study class Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. there in Memorial Hall Chapel. All are welcome to attend.
Good morning. I wanted to prepare you all for the onenju making session at the Sangha Day coming up. I'll have a number of supplies. If you want to be making your own wrist onenju and bring your own supplies, you have ones that you want to make, then you can do that. And if not, and you still want to make some or just sort of practice, we are going to be making the onenju that we'll have for Pride this year. So this year we have a couple of different options. So black ones and clear ones with just the rainbow colors